The notification pinged on my phone at 11:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Henderson, D, motion alert, front door camera. I minimized the cybersecurity audit I'd been running for a client and pulled up the shared neighborhood security app. 6 houses on Maple Grove Lane had pooled our surveillance systems after the mail theft incidents last fall. Smart doorbell cameras, motion sensors, the works. We could all see each other's alerts, keep an eye out for package thieves and suspicious vehicles. The alert was 2 days old, from Sunday afternoon, when Dave Henderson and his family had been visiting his parents in Austin. I clicked through out of habit more than concern. Probably a delivery driver or neighbor checking on the house. The timestamp read 2:34 p.m. March 3rd. The video loaded, showing Dave's pristine front entrance with its stone columns and gas lanterns. A figure approached from the driveway, face turned away from the camera. Male, average height, wearing a hoodie despite the 70-degree weather. He tried the doorknob, then moved to the side window. 10 seconds later, he disappeared around the corner toward the back of the house. I sat up straighter. This wasn't a delivery driver. The next clip auto-played. 2:41 p.m., interior hallway camera. The same hooded figure moving through Dave's house, opening closets, checking rooms. Bold, stupid. Dave's security system was comprehensive. Former military, took home defense seriously. I forwarded the clips to Dave. Caught something on your camera Sunday. Call me. My phone rang 30 seconds later. Please tell me that's not what I think it is. Dave's voice carried the controlled tension of someone trying not to lose it in public. Someone broke into your house Sunday afternoon. Got clear footage from 3 angles. Want me to compile everything and take it to the police? I'm still in Austin until tonight. Can you grab all the recordings? I'll file a report first thing tomorrow. He paused. Did they take anything major? I can't access the interior cameras from here. System's been glitchy. Give me an hour. I'll pull everything from your cloud storage and check what's visible. Professional courtesy among neighbors who took security seriously. I'd helped Dave set up his system last year, had admin access for troubleshooting. Never thought I'd be using it for an actual break-in. I opened my laptop and logged into Dave's security account. His system was impressive. 12 cameras covering every entrance, the garage, hallways, and main living spaces. I started downloading Sunday's footage, setting the range from noon to 6 p.m. to capture the full incident. While the files transferred, I pulled up my own security footage from Sunday. My house sat diagonal from Dave's, with a clear view of his driveway and part of his front yard. Maybe I'd caught the perpetrator's vehicle. I scrolled through Sunday afternoon, watching at 4x speed. Normal neighborhood activity, joggers, dog walkers, kids on bikes. Then, at 2:28 p.m., a silver sedan pulled into Dave's driveway. I paused, zoomed in. Texas plates, clean vehicle, no obvious identifying marks. The driver's side door opened and my stomach dropped. The figure that emerged wasn't a random burglar. It was my wife. I sat frozen, watching her walk to Dave's front door in her showing properties outfit. Pencil skirt, blouse, heels. She had her oversized purse and what looked like a Supra lockbox key in her hand. She glanced around, a quick, nervous sweep, then unlocked the door and went inside. The timestamp read 2:29 p.m., Sunday, when she'd texted me that she was meeting a client to show a property in Frisco. I switched back to Dave's interior cameras, suddenly understanding why the burglar had seemed familiar in movement and build. I pulled up the hallway footage again, advancing frame by frame. At 2:43 p.m., my wife walked through Dave Henderson's house carrying 2 wine glasses and a bottle I recognized from our own wine rack. She moved with the casual confidence of someone who knew the layout, who'd been there before. She set the glasses on the kitchen counter, opened the wine, poured. Then she checked her phone and walked toward the back of the house toward the primary bedroom. At 2:47 p.m., a second figure appeared in the hallway footage. Male, younger, athletic build. No hoodie now, just jeans and a fitted t-shirt. He moved past the camera toward the kitchen, grabbed both wine glasses, and followed the path my wife had taken. I recognized him. Tyler Morrison, Dave's roommate. The guy Dave had mentioned renting his spare bedroom to for the past 10 months. 28, supposedly saving money for a fitness studio, helping with expenses after Dave's wife insisted they needed the extra income. I'd met him twice. Both times he'd been leaving for the gym when I stopped by to talk tech stuff with Dave. I sat back, my hands shaking. The room tilted slightly. I forced myself to breathe, to think like the cybersecurity analyst I was instead of the husband I was. Data, evidence, timeline. Verify before acting. I pulled up Dave's camera recordings going back 8 months, when Tyler had supposedly moved in. Started scanning through weekday afternoons, looking for that silver sedan in the driveway. It appeared again. March 1st, 2:15 p.m. My wife's car. February 27th, 1:45 p.m. Same vehicle. February 22nd, 3 p.m. February 15th, 2:30 p.m. I wrote a Python script to scan the footage more efficiently, flagging any appearance of that license plate. Left it running and walked to the kitchen, poured myself water with hands that wouldn't stay steady. Our wedding photo hung on the wall. 9 years. We'd been married 9 years. The script finished? 47 matches. 47 times my wife's car appeared at Dave Henderson's house during weekday afternoons over the past 8 months. I pulled up her work calendar on the shared family account. Cross-referenced the dates. February 15th. Property showing, Preston Hollow. February 22nd. Client meeting, Legacy West. February 27th. Open house prep, West Plano. March 1st. Broker training, Dallas office. Every single date she'd claimed to be working. I pulled the camera footage for February 15th. Her car arrived at 2:31 p.m. I fast-forwarded through Dave's interior cameras. She appeared at 2:36 p.m., already undressed, wearing only a robe I didn't recognize. Tyler emerged from the bedroom at 2:38 p.m. shirtless. They talked in the kitchen, laughed, drank wine. At 2:45 p.m., they disappeared back toward the bedroom. Her car left at 4:53 p.m., 2 hours and 22 minutes. I pulled another date at random. February 8th. Car arrived 1:47 p.m., left at 4:12 p.m. The pattern repeated. Wine, conversation, bedroom, departure. Professional, routine, comfortable. I created a spreadsheet documenting every visit. Date, arrival time, departure time, duration. The average stay was 2 hours and 38 minutes. The shortest was 93 minutes. The longest was 4 hours and 6 minutes. That one was a Friday afternoon when I'd thought she was at a company retreat in Houston. My phone buzzed. Message from my wife. Running late, showing a property in McKinney. Home by 7. I checked the time, 4:23 p.m., checked the live feed from Dave's cameras. Her car sat in his driveway. I put the phone down carefully, picked up my laptop, started compiling the evidence with the methodical precision I used for client security audits. Timestamps, screenshots, license plate confirmations, calendar discrepancies. I organized it all into a presentation deck with the same attention to detail I'd give a corporate breach analysis. By 6:45 p.m. I had everything. 47 documented visits, 112 hours of combined footage. Cross-referenced with her work calendar, showing client meetings and property showings at the exact times she was at Dave Henderson's house. Her car pulled into our driveway at 7:03 p.m. I watched from my office window as she gathered her purse, her phone, her professional smile. She'd reapplied lipstick in the car, fixed her hair. She came through the garage door, called out cheerfully, "Sorry I'm late. That property had so many issues. Took forever to document everything for the seller." I saved my work, closed the laptop, walked down to meet her in the kitchen. "How was McKinney?" I kept my voice level. "Exhausting." She set her purse on the counter, kicked off her heels. 3-story house and the air conditioning wasn't working right. I was sweating through my blouse by the end. She looked fresh, composed, perfectly put together. Not a hair out of place. "Which property was it?" "The one on El Dorado? I sent you the listing last week." She opened the refrigerator, pulled out ingredients for dinner. The seller's being unrealistic about the price. I spent an hour just trying to explain market comparables. I pulled up my phone, opened the real estate app, searched for active listings on El Dorado and McKinney. Nothing under her name, nothing in that area at all in her brokerage's portfolio. What was the address? I asked. Hmm? She was chopping vegetables, not looking at me. The address on El Dorado. I want to look at the listing. Oh, it's not public yet. Pre-market consultation. She scraped the vegetables into a pan, added olive oil. Why? You thinking about investment properties again? Just curious. The kitchen filled with the sound of sizzling vegetables, the scent of garlic and onions. Domestic. Normal. She hummed while she cooked, asked me about my day, mentioned that her parents wanted to visit next month. I watched her perform this routine, this familiar dance of married life, and thought about her performing the same casual intimacy in Dave Henderson's bedroom that afternoon. Thought about Tyler Morrison, 28 years old, unemployed, living rent-free in a spare bedroom while sleeping with married women for entertainment and whatever else he was getting out of the arrangement. Thought about Dave Henderson, my neighbor, my friend, who trusted me with his security system access, who had no idea his roommate was destroying two marriages simultaneously. You're quiet tonight, she said, plating the food. Long day? Just thinking through a client project. I took my plate, sat at the table. Complex security breach. Takes a while to trace all the access points. I'm sure you'll figure it out. You always do. She smiled at me across the table, the same smile I'd fallen in love with 10 years ago. You're brilliant at finding what people try to hide. The irony hung in the air between us, invisible to her, suffocating to me. We ate. She talked about her day, the fictional property showing, the difficult seller, the market conditions. I made appropriate sounds of interest and agreement. Played my role in our marriage's theater while 47 documented visits to another man's house sat compiled on my laptop upstairs. After dinner, she curled up on the couch to watch her reality show. I went back to my office, pulled up Dave Henderson's contact. Need to talk, not about the break-in. Something else on your security footage. Can you meet tomorrow morning? His response came 2 minutes later. 8 a.m. at my place? Wife's taking the kids to school. See you then. I looked at the compiled evidence on my screen. Thought about tomorrow morning, about showing Dave Henderson the footage, about the cascade of destruction that would follow. Then I thought about my wife downstairs, laughing at her television show, comfortable in her deception, confident in her lies. I pulled up Texas Penal Code Section 1602 on my second monitor. One-party consent for recording conversations. I could record any interaction I was part of without her knowledge or permission. I opened my audio recording app, tested the levels. Set my phone to easily accessible position in my pocket. Then I went downstairs and sat next to my wife on the couch. Hey, I said casually. I've been thinking about something. She didn't look away from her show. Dave Henderson, his roommate, Tyler. You've met him, right? She stiffened slightly. Barely noticeable if I hadn't been watching for it. Maybe once or twice, when I've dropped off packages that got delivered to our place by mistake. Why? Just wondered what you thought of him. Dave says he's having trouble with rent payments. Thinking about asking him to leave? I wouldn't know anything about that. She kept her eyes on the screen. Seems like a nice enough guy. Quiet. Quiet, I repeated. Right. I let it sit. Waited. She shifted position, tucked her feet under her, created more distance between us on the couch. Do you know him better than just seeing him once or twice? I asked it softly, conversationally. The pause lasted 3 seconds too long. What kind of question is that? A simple one. Do you know Tyler Morrison better than you've told me? Where is this coming from? She turned to face me now, defensive posture forming. Did Dave say something? Because I don't appreciate... Dave didn't say anything. I'm asking you directly. Do you know Tyler Morrison? I just told you. I've seen him a couple times. That's it. Her voice had the edge it got when she felt cornered in arguments. Why are you interrogating me about the neighbor's roommate? I pulled out my phone, opened the spreadsheet, turned the screen toward her. I'm asking because your car has been at Dave Henderson's house 47 times in the past 8 months. Always on weekday afternoons. Always for 2 to 3 hours. Always when you're supposed to be showing properties or meeting clients. The color drained from her face. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. I can explain. I have video footage, I continued, keeping my voice steady. Time-stamped, high definition, from multiple cameras. You entering Dave's house, Tyler joining you, both of you going to the bedroom. Hours later, you leaving. 47 times. You're spying on me? Indignation, the classic deflection. You're tracking my car, recording me? Dave's security cameras recorded you. I have authorized access to his system. You were caught on tape in someone else's house during times you told me you were working. She stood up, pacing now. This is insane. You're acting crazy. I was helping Tyler with something. For Dave. It's not what you think. What was I thinking? I don't know. Whatever this is. She gestured at my phone. I was helping him with job applications. He needed someone with computer skills, and Dave asked if I could stop by when I was in the neighborhood. For 2.5 hours, in the bedroom, multiple times per week. We weren't in the bedroom. We were in the office. You're twisting this into something it's not. I pulled up the video on my phone, cued it to February 15th, 2:43 p.m., turned it toward her. That's Dave's bedroom. That's you in a robe. That's Tyler without a shirt. Neither of you are working on job applications. She watched the screen, her face crumbling through anger, denial, calculation, and finally into something like defeat. How long have you known? Her voice was barely a whisper. Since this afternoon. And you came down here and… She gestured at the couch, the dinner, the pretense of normalcy. You just sat here playing games? I wanted to give you a chance to tell me the truth. You chose to lie instead. I stood, pocketing my phone. How long has it been going on? Does it matter? Yes. She sank back onto the couch, pulled a throw pillow against her chest like a shield. 8 months. The same timeline as Tyler moving in. Did Dave know? Did he set this up? What? No, God no, Dave has no idea. He thinks Tyler is… She stopped. Thinks Tyler is what? Paying rent, living there legitimately. He doesn't know that Tyler and I… Another stop. Say it, I said. Complete the sentence. Are seeing each other, she finished quietly. Seeing each other. I laughed, harsh and bitter. That's one way to describe it. Another way would be that you've been having an affair with our neighbor's roommate in our neighbor's house while lying to me about work for 8 months. It just happened. I didn't plan it. I was showing a house next door to Dave's, and Tyler was outside, and we started talking, and then you started showing up 2 or 3 times a week for months. That's not… It just happened. That's a relationship. That's choice, repeated choice, dozens of choices. She was crying now, mascara running. I never meant to hurt you. But you did it anyway, repeatedly, while looking me in the eye every single night and lying about where you'd been. What are you going to do? Fear crept into her voice. I thought about the evidence upstairs, the documentation, the timeline, the federal laws Tyler had likely violated using Dave's address, the professional ethics violations my wife had committed using her MLS access. I'm going to talk to Dave tomorrow morning. Show him the footage. Let him know what's been happening in his house. Please don't. She stood, reached for me. Please. I'll end it. I'll never see Tyler again. We can go to counseling. We can fix this. You lied to my face for 8 months. You're still lying. You only admitted anything because I have video evidence. If I hadn't found that footage, you'd still be going over there this week, next month. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Full breakdown now, sobbing. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But we can get past this. People do. We can rebuild. People rebuild after mistakes. After one-time things. After confessions and honesty. Not after 8 months of systematic deception. Not after watching you cook dinner and lie about your day while knowing you spent the afternoon in bed with someone else. I walked toward the stairs. She followed, still pleading, still crying, still trying to negotiate a way out of consequences. Where are you going? To the guest room. I need to think. Don't leave me, please, I love you. I turned back to her. What does that word even mean to you? Love? You've spent the last 8 months proving it doesn't mean honesty or loyalty or respect. So what does it mean? She had no answer. I locked the guest room door and pulled out my phone. Checked the recording. Clear audio. Entire conversation captured. I uploaded it to my encrypted cloud storage with the rest of the evidence. Then I lay on the unfamiliar bed and stared at the ceiling, processing the fact that my 9-year marriage had ended the moment my wife walked into Dave Henderson's house on that first afternoon 8 months ago. I'd just been living in the ghost of it since then, not knowing I'd already lost everything that mattered. My phone buzzed. Text from her. Please don't tell Dave. I'll do anything. I'll sign any divorce papers you want. Just don't destroy Tyler's life too. I read it twice. She was still protecting him, still thinking about him. Even now. I didn't respond. At 7:53 a.m., I pulled into Dave Henderson's driveway. His truck sat in the garage, his wife's SUV already gone for the school run. I'd watched from my office window as Tyler left at 7:30 for his usual morning gym session, right on schedule. Dave opened the door before I could knock. Come in. You want coffee? Sure. We sat at his kitchen island, the same island where I'd watched my wife pour wine 53 hours earlier. Dave looked tired, stressed, still processing the break-in. Did you get the footage compiled? He asked. I did. But that's not what I need to talk to you about. I pulled out my laptop. What I found on your cameras is worse than a break-in. His expression shifted. How much worse? Your roommate isn't paying rent, is he? Dave's jaw tightened. What makes you say that? Because I pulled 8 months of footage to document the break-in, and I found something else. My wife's car. At your house. 47 times. Always on weekday afternoons. Always for hours. I turned the laptop toward him. Played the same compilation I'd shown my wife. He watched in silence, his face draining of color, his hands gripping the edge of the counter. When it finished, he sat back. Tyler, I confirmed. Your wife has been, in my house? The disbelief in his voice was genuine. For 8 months? Since he supposedly moved in. I'm going to be sick. He stood, paced to the sink, braced himself against it. Rebecca insisted we needed the rental income. She said Tyler seemed nice, responsible, that he'd be quiet and helpful. I didn't want a roommate, but she pushed and I finally agreed. Does Rebecca know about this? She can't. She'd kill me for letting him move in. He stopped. Wait. Does she know? About the affair? I doubt it. Your wife seems genuinely fond of Tyler as a renter. But I need to show you something else. I pulled up additional footage I'd compiled the night before. Tyler moving through the house when no one else was home. Going through papers in Dave's office, using Dave's laptop, taking items from drawers and cabinets. He's been stealing from you, I said. Small things. Cash from your wallet. Rebecca's jewelry. And look at this. I advanced to footage from 2 weeks ago. That's him photographing documents in your office, your tax returns, insurance papers. Dave's face had gone from shock to fury. That piece of, he's been living here for free, sleeping with married women, and stealing from us? It's worse than that. I did a background check last night. Tyler Morrison has a criminal history in Colorado. Fraud. Identity theft. He served 18 months, got out 2 years ago, moved to Texas. He's done this before, targeting homeowners, gaining access to their houses, then exploiting it. Rebecca did the background check when we rented to him. She said it came back clean. He's using a variation of his name, Tyler J. Morrison, on your rental agreement. His criminal record is under Tyler James Morrison, close enough to pass casual scrutiny, different enough to avoid automated background checks. Dave pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police right now. Wait. I put my hand on his arm. Before you do, you need to understand the full scope. This isn't just about theft or an affair. I spent last night digging into Tyler's activities. He's been using your address for unemployment benefits, for credit card applications, for insurance claims. What? I pulled up the documentation. See this? Unemployment claim filed 6 months ago. Mailing address, your house. He's collecting benefits while claiming to be unemployed, but he's actually getting paid under the table as a personal trainer. That's federal fraud. How did you? I'm a cybersecurity consultant. I know how to find digital footprints. Tyler's been sloppy, arrogant. He's got social media posts showing him working, getting paid, living well, all while claiming poverty to the state. I showed him more. He's opened 3 credit cards using your address. Nothing in your name. He's smarter than that. But he's using your address as his residence, building credit, then maxing out the cards and letting them go to collections. When the lawsuits come, they'll come here, to your house. Dave's hands shook. How much? $47,000 across the 3 cards. All of it spent in the last 8 months. I'm going to kill him. No, you're not. You're going to let the law do its job. I pulled up more documentation. I also found evidence he's dealing prescription medications. Small-time stuff. But it's enough to get federal attention combined with the fraud and identity theft. How deep does this go? Deeper than you want to know. Your security footage shows him bringing multiple women to your house. Not just my wife. I counted at least 4 different women over the past 8 months. All during the day when you and Rebecca are at work. All of them married, based on the rings. I showed him the timestamps. He's running a pattern, targeting married women in the neighborhood, women with money and access. My wife gave him cash. I found ATM withdrawals on our account that match up with his visits. 500 here, 300 there. She's been funding him. Dave stood, walked to the window, looked out at his perfectly manicured lawn. Rebecca can't know about this. The affair, yes, but not the rest. Not that I let a career criminal into our house, that I gave him keys and access to our lives. She's going to find out when the police investigate. Then we need to control how she finds out. I need time to think. You don't have time. Tyler could be destroying evidence right now. For all we know, he's already figured out that I accessed your security system and is planning to run. Dave turned back to me. What do you want me to do? First, secure your documents. Anything with personal information, social security numbers, bank accounts, medical records, lock it down. Second, change all your passwords. Every account, every login. Third, contact your bank and credit card companies. Alert them to possible identity theft. And then you call a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, someone who specializes in identity theft and fraud. Someone who can help you navigate both the criminal and civil aspects. Because Tyler is going to prison, but you're also going to sue him for every penny you can get. What about your wife? The question hung in the air. What about her? Are you divorcing her? Already called an attorney yesterday. Meeting with him this afternoon. She used her real estate license to access properties for the affair. That's professional misconduct. She gave marital funds to support Tyler. That's financial fraud. She'll lose her license, lose her career, lose everything we built together. You sound calm about it. I'm not calm. I'm focused. There's a difference. I closed my laptop. Emotion comes later. Right now, I'm documenting everything, building a case, making sure that when this falls apart, and it will fall apart, I have every piece of evidence needed to protect myself and destroy them. Dave nodded slowly. I'm supposed to be the military guy, the strategic thinker. But right now I can barely process this without wanting to put my fist through a wall. That's because it's personal for you. It's personal for me too. But I've spent 20 years in cybersecurity learning to compartmentalize. I can treat this like a data breach, identify the vulnerability, assess the damage, implement countermeasures, pursue the attackers. Your wife is an attacker now. She became one the first time she lied about where she was going. I stood. Call your lawyer, secure your information, then call the police. I'll send you all the footage and documentation I compiled. Make sure they understand this isn't just about theft or trespassing. This is systematic fraud. What about Rebecca? When do I tell her? Soon. Today. Before the police contact her. She needs to hear it from you, and she needs to understand the full scope. I paused. I'm sorry this is happening. You didn't deserve this. Neither did you. We stood there. 2 men whose lives had been upended by the same 28-year-old con artist. Neither of us sure how to move forward, but both of us knowing we had to. One more thing, Dave said as I reached the door. Tyler's at the gym right now. He's got a routine. Waits for 2 hours, then the sauna, then he goes to the smoothie place next door. He'll be back around 10:30. You want to confront him? I want him gone before he comes back. I want the locks changed, his stuff in trash bags on the lawn, and a restraining order filed by the time he pulls into this driveway. Call the lawyer first. Make sure you do this legally. Legally. Dave laughed, bitter. Right. Because he's been so concerned with legality. Because you want the moral and legal high ground when this goes to court. Don't give him any ammunition to claim you violated his tenant rights or destroyed his property. Dave's jaw worked. Fine. Legal eviction, criminal charges, civil lawsuit. I'll destroy him the right way. I drove home thinking about that phrase. Destroy him the right way. There was something both satisfying and disturbing about planning someone's complete destruction with such methodical precision. My wife's car was still in the driveway. She hadn't gone to work. I found her in the kitchen, still in pajamas, looking like she hadn't slept at all. Did you tell him? She asked immediately. Yes. What did he say? He's calling the police, and a lawyer, and probably his wife, to explain how he let a career criminal move into their house. She flinched. Career criminal? Tyler has a record in Colorado. Fraud. Identity theft. 18 months in prison. He's been using Dave's address for unemployment fraud, credit card fraud, and as a base for dealing prescription medications. This isn't some nice guy making bad choices. This is a predator who's been running a scam for 8 months. The color drained from her face again. No, that's not. He told me he was trying to start a business, that he needed the stability of Dave's place to get his life together. And you believed him because you wanted to believe him, because it made the affair feel like less of a betrayal if you were helping someone who was struggling. I gave him money, she whispered, to help with his business plan. He said he just needed. You gave him our money, marital funds, to support a con artist who's been stealing from multiple families while sleeping with their wives. She sat down heavily. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about any of this. But you knew you were married. You knew you were lying. You knew you were using your real estate access to enter properties without authorization. You knew every single one of the things you were doing wrong. You just didn't know you were being used by someone even worse than you. The cruelty in my voice surprised even me. But she didn't flinch. Just sat there, absorbing it, looking smaller with each word. What happens now? She asked. Now you call your broker, confess to the property access violations, resign before you're fired and investigated by the Real Estate Commission. That's my career. That's everything I've worked for. You should have thought about that before you used your super key to enter client properties for personal use. That's grounds for immediate license revocation. They don't have to know. They'll know because I'm going to tell them. And because when the police investigate Tyler, they're going to subpoena all the evidence, including the footage of you entering properties during times you claim to be showing them to clients. Your broker will figure out pretty quickly that you've been committing professional misconduct. You'd destroy my career? You destroyed your own career. I'm just making sure there are appropriate consequences. She looked at me with something between hatred and desperation. What about us? What about our marriage? I pulled out the divorce papers my attorney had couriered over that morning, placed them on the kitchen counter between us. Our marriage ended 8 months ago. You just didn't bother to tell me. She stared at the papers without touching them. Just like that? 9 years and you're done? I've been done since yesterday afternoon when I saw the footage. This is just the paperwork catching up to reality. What if I refuse to sign? Then we go through a contested divorce. I present all the evidence of your affair, your financial fraud, your professional misconduct. The judge awards me everything. You lose more than you would if you just sign now and negotiate fairly. Fairly? She laughed, a broken sound. You're destroying my entire life and you want me to think it's fair? You destroyed it yourself. Every time you drove to Dave's house, every time you lied about where you were, every time you took our money to give to Tyler. I'm not doing this to you. I'm just making sure you can't do any more damage to me. She picked up the papers, hands shaking. I need time to read these, to get my own lawyer. You have 72 hours to respond. I'd suggest you use them wisely. I left her there with the divorce papers and went back to my office. Pulled up my email. Composed a message to the Texas Real Estate Commission with every piece of documentation about my wife's property access violations. time-stamped and cross-referenced with her work calendar. My finger hovered over the send button. This would end her career permanently. No real estate license, no professional reputation, no income beyond whatever she could scrape together in a new field. The affair had destroyed our marriage. This would destroy her livelihood. I thought about Mercy, about whether destroying her professionally served any purpose beyond revenge. Then I thought about the lies, the systematic deception, the way she'd sat across from me at dinner last night and spun elaborate fiction about property showings that never happened. I hit send. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of phone calls and documentation. My attorney, a litigation specialist named Maximus Cross, reviewed all the evidence and whistled low. "This is extraordinary," he said over video call. "I've never seen such comprehensive documentation of an affair. The timestamps, the footage, the financial records. You've essentially done the entire investigation for me. I'm thorough. You're a prosecutor's dream client. Most people come to me with suspicions and maybe a few text messages. You've got a federal case's worth of evidence." He paused. "Are you sure you want to pursue this aggressively? Sometimes in these situations, the betrayed spouse eventually wants reconciliation." "There's no reconciliation. I want a divorce with maximum financial protection for me and maximum consequences for her." "Understood. Texas is a community property state, but we can argue for a disproportionate division based on the fraud. She took marital funds to support her affair partner. That's waste of community assets. We can calculate the total amount she gave Tyler, add in the value of her time spent on the affair during work hours, and make a strong case for you getting at least 75% of the marital estate." "What about her retirement accounts?" "Community property, but again, we can argue for disproportionate division. She's also going to lose her real estate license, which means her future earning capacity is diminished. The court might award you more now to compensate for that disparity." I sent documentation to Trek this morning. "That'll speed things up. They take property access violations very seriously. She'll probably be suspended pending investigation, then permanently revoked after hearing." He made notes. "What about the affair partner, Tyler Morrison?" "Dave Henderson is filing criminal charges today. Federal fraud, identity theft, drug charges. Tyler's going to prison." "Good. That eliminates any possibility of your wife claiming the affair was coercive or that she was manipulated. If he's a career criminal, she can't claim she's a victim. She gave him money voluntarily. The footage shows her initiating contact, showing up regularly, bringing wine and gifts. No coercion." "Even better. Now, let's talk about your strategy. Do you want a quick divorce or do you want to drag this out?" "Quick. I want her out of my life as completely and rapidly as possible." "Then we offer a settlement. She signs everything now, agrees to the disproportionate split, waives spousal support, and we're done in 90 days. If she refuses, we file contested and it takes 18 months minimum." "She won't refuse. She's terrified about the professional consequences. She'll sign anything to try to minimize the damage." "Then I'll have the settlement agreement drafted by tomorrow. We'll be generous in one way. We won't pursue additional damages for the affair beyond the waste of community assets. That makes it easier for her to accept. But we reserve the right to pursue damages if she contests anything?" "Absolutely. The settlement will be contingent on her full cooperation. Any resistance, any delay, any attempt to hide assets or income, and we withdraw the offer and go to full litigation." After the call, I sat in my office watching the street through my window. Tyler's car pulled into Dave's driveway at 10:34 a.m. He got out, gym bag over his shoulder, looking relaxed and confident. He wouldn't be relaxed for long. I watched as he approached the front door, tried his key, found it didn't work, tried again, pulled out his phone, stood there looking confused. Dave opened the door. I couldn't hear the conversation from my house, but I could see the body language. Dave, arms crossed, blocking the entrance. Tyler, gesturing, trying to step inside. Dave, not moving, pointing toward the street. A police cruiser turned onto our street. Then another. Tyler saw them coming, tried to push past Dave. Dave shoved him back. Not hard enough to be assault, just enough to establish that Tyler wasn't getting inside. The police parked. Two officers got out, approached. Dave gestured to Tyler, then toward the house. One officer put a hand on Tyler's arm. Tyler jerked away. The officer's hand moved to his belt, to his weapon. Tyler froze. I watched them put him in handcuffs. Watched them search him, finding what looked like pills in his pocket. Watched Dave hand over a folder, probably the evidence I'd compiled, along with his own documentation. Watched Tyler get put in the back of a police cruiser. The whole thing took 8 minutes. My phone buzzed. Text from Dave. It's done. They arrested him on the spot. Found Vicodin and Adderall in his pockets, no prescription. Thanks for everything. I didn't respond. Just watched the police cars drive away with Tyler Morrison in the back, headed toward a jail cell and eventually a federal prison sentence that would measure in years, not months. My wife appeared beside me at the window. I hadn't heard her approach. Is that Tyler? Her voice was small, shocked. Yes. They arrested him? For fraud, identity theft, and drug possession. Those are just the initial charges. The federal investigation will add more. She watched the police cars disappear around the corner. What's going to happen to him? Prison. Federal prison. He's a repeat offender with a pattern of targeting vulnerable people. He'll get at least 8 to 10 years, probably more with the drug charges added. This is crazy. She turned to me. You did this. You could have just told me to end it. You could have let me fix this quietly. Instead, you've destroyed both our lives and sent Tyler to prison. I did nothing to Tyler except document his crimes. He destroyed his own life by committing federal offenses. And you destroyed your own life by choosing to have an affair with a career criminal while stealing marital funds and violating your professional ethics. I didn't know he was a criminal. You knew you were one. You knew every time you used your MLS key to enter a property without authorization. You knew every time you took money from our account to give to him. You knew every time you lied to me about where you were going. You knew all of it. She slumped against the wall. What am I supposed to do now? Sign the divorce papers. Resign from your brokerage. Find a new career. Move on with your life. I turned away from the window. You'll survive this. You might not thrive, but you'll survive. How can you be so cold? Because being warm and emotional doesn't change anything. The facts are the facts. The evidence is the evidence. The consequences are the consequences. My feelings about any of it are irrelevant. They're not irrelevant to me. I'm your wife. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but doesn't 9 years of marriage count for something? It counted for something right up until you drove to Dave Henderson's house the first time. Every visit after that, every lie after that, it counted for less and less. By the time I found the footage yesterday, there was nothing left to count. She slid down the wall, sat on the floor, crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did, repeatedly, for 8 months. And the only reason you're sorry now is because you got caught. If I hadn't found that footage, you'd still be going over there next week. I stepped over her and went downstairs. Left her crying in the hallway of a house she'd be leaving in 90 days. The next 72 hours passed in methodical destruction. My wife signed the divorce settlement without reading it fully. Her attorney, hastily retained and clearly overwhelmed, advised her to take it. 75% of marital assets to me, 25% to her. No spousal support. No claims on future earnings. She kept her car and her personal possessions. Everything else was mine. The Texas Real Estate Commission suspended her license pending investigation. Her broker fired her the same day I sent the documentation. 2 property owners whose houses appeared in the security footage filed complaints with TREC and civil suits for privacy violations. Tyler Morrison sat in county jail on $250,000 bond he couldn't make. Dave's lawyer had compiled all the evidence of fraud and identity theft. The district attorney added charges for theft, trespass, and drug possession. Federal prosecutors in the Northern District of Texas opened their own investigation into the unemployment fraud and interstate identity theft. Dave's wife, Rebecca, knew everything now. She'd filed for divorce the same day Tyler was arrested. Thrown all his possessions onto the lawn. The few legitimate things he owned mixed with items he'd stolen from their house. Changed the locks. Retained a lawyer who made Dave's attorney look like a public defender. The neighborhood was in chaos. 4 different women had come forward after Tyler's arrest, admitting to affairs, all following the same pattern. all married, all meeting him during the day, all giving him money. Two of them had used their professional access to properties. One was a house cleaner, another a home inspector. Both were now facing their own professional consequences. I watched it all unfold from my office, documenting everything, adding to the evidence files that kept growing. My attorney called on day 4. The DA wants to talk to you. They're building a case against Tyler and they want your testimony about the surveillance footage and timeline analysis. I'll cooperate fully. They're also interested in your wife's role, whether she knowingly participated in the fraud or was just an affair partner. She gave him money, but I don't think she knew about the identity theft or unemployment fraud. She's guilty of adultery and professional misconduct, not criminal conspiracy. That's generous of you, considering. It's not generous. It's accurate. I don't want her charged with crimes she didn't commit. I just want her out of my life. Fair enough. The DA will probably leave her alone then. Focus the prosecution on Tyler. She's lost enough already. After we hung up, I thought about that phrase. Lost enough already. Her career, her marriage, her reputation, her financial security, all gone in 4 days because of decisions she made over 8 months. I should have felt satisfaction, vindication, justice. Instead, I felt empty, hollow, like I'd won a competition I never wanted to enter. My phone buzzed. Text from my wife. Can we talk, please? I ignored it. Another text. I signed everything. Did everything you asked. Can we at least have a conversation? I typed back. There's nothing left to say. There's everything to say. 9 years of marriage doesn't end without at least a conversation. It does when one person spends 8 months lying to the other. Please. I need closure. I stared at that word. Closure. As if a conversation could somehow seal off the wound, make it neat and finished. Fine. Tonight. 7 p.m. You have 30 minutes. She showed up at exactly 7 p.m. I'd spent the afternoon preparing, making sure I had everything I might need. Recording device ready. Documents organized. Exit strategy clear. She looked terrible. Hollow eyes, unwashed hair, wrinkled clothes. The professional real estate agent persona had completely crumbled. Thank you for seeing me, she said. You have 30 minutes. Start talking. I want to explain. Not to justify it, I know I can't justify it. But you deserve to understand why. I know why. You wanted something I wasn't giving you. Excitement, attention, validation, whatever. You found it with Tyler. You chose that over our marriage. Simple. It's not simple, it's... She struggled for words. You're always working. Always focused on your clients, your projects, your security systems. When was the last time we went on a date? When was the last time you looked at me like you actually saw me? So this is my fault? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I felt invisible. Tyler made me feel seen. He paid attention to me. He made me feel special. He manipulated you. He's a con artist who's done this before. He targeted you because you had money and access and vulnerabilities he could exploit. Maybe, probably. But in the moment, it didn't feel like manipulation. It felt like someone actually caring about me. I cared about you. I worked 60-hour weeks to build our financial security. I was building us a future. I didn't need a future. I needed a present. I needed you to be there, not just physically but emotionally. She wiped her eyes. But that doesn't excuse what I did. Nothing excuses it. No, it doesn't. I destroyed everything. Our marriage, my career, my reputation. And for what? For a guy who's going to prison who was using me the whole time. She laughed bitterly. I'm the idiot who threw away 9 years for someone who never cared about me at all. That's the part that bothers you? Not that you hurt me, but that you got played? It bothers me that I hurt you. Of course it does. I see what I did to you, how I betrayed your trust, and it makes me sick. But yes, it also bothers me that I was so stupid, so blind, that I couldn't see what he was doing. You didn't want to see it. Seeing it would have meant admitting you were making bad choices, easier to believe the fantasy. She nodded slowly. You're right. About all of it. I wanted the fantasy. I wanted to believe I was special, that this was some great romance instead of just a tawdry affair with a criminal. She looked at me directly. I'm sorry. I know that word doesn't mean anything now, but I am. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I destroyed what we had. What do you want from me? Forgiveness? I don't know. Maybe just acknowledgement that we had something real once. That it wasn't all a lie from the beginning. I thought about that. About the first years of our marriage, before the distance, before the work obsession, before the loneliness that apparently drove her into someone else's arms. It was real, I admitted. At the beginning, before I got too focused on work and you got too focused on finding validation elsewhere. There was something real there once. Can we? She stopped. Never mind. Say it. Can we ever be friends? Eventually? Years from now when this isn't so raw? No. The flatness of my answer seemed to hurt her more than anything else I'd said. Why not? Because friends require trust. Trust requires honesty. You proved you're incapable of both. I can be civil if we run into each other in public. I can be professional if we need to communicate about finalizing the divorce. But friendship? That's not possible. So I'm just dead to you. You're someone I used to be married to. Someone who betrayed me systematically for 8 months. Someone I need to excise from my life as completely as possible so I can move forward. She stood. Then I guess this is goodbye. I guess it is. She walked to the door, paused with her hand on the knob. For what it's worth, I hope you find someone who deserves you. Someone who appreciates the security you provide, who doesn't need constant attention and validation. Someone better than I was. I will. After she left, I sat in the silence of my house now, not ours, and felt the weight of finality. 9 years ended. Not with dramatic confrontation or violence, but with quiet acknowledgement of failure and irreconcilable differences. My phone rang. Dave Henderson. Hey, wanted to check in. See how you're holding up. I'm fine, just had the closure conversation with her. It went about as well as could be expected. Rebecca and I are doing the same thing tomorrow. Lawyers insisted we try mediation before going to full divorce proceedings. He sighed. She's still furious with me for letting Tyler move in. Can't say I blame her. You didn't know. I should have known. I'm supposed to be the careful one, the security-conscious one. Instead, I let a con artist into my house because my wife wanted the rental income. He was good at what he did. He fooled multiple families. You're not uniquely gullible. Doesn't feel that way. We sat in companionable silence for a moment. Two men whose lives had been destroyed by the same person, finding strange comfort in shared experience. I've been thinking, Dave said, about the security footage, about how if we hadn't had those cameras, we'd never have known. We'd have just kept living our lives, being betrayed, while Tyler kept doing whatever he wanted. Ignorance is bliss until it destroys you. Exactly. So I've been talking to the other neighbors, the ones whose wives were also involved. We want to upgrade the entire neighborhood's security. Make it comprehensive, coordinated. So this never happens again. That's a good idea. Would you consult? Use your cybersecurity expertise to design the system? I'll pay you whatever your normal rate is. I thought about it. About taking the worst experience of my life and turning it into something useful. About protecting other families from the same betrayal. I'll do it, but not for money. For the satisfaction of making sure no one else gets destroyed the way we did. I'll take it. Let's meet next week. Start planning. After we hung up, I opened my laptop. Started designing a comprehensive neighborhood security system. Camera placement, network architecture, data storage, access controls. I lost myself in the technical details, finding comfort in problems that had clear solutions, unlike the messy human disaster of the past week. 3 weeks later, my divorce was final. My wife, my ex-wife, moved out of the house we'd shared. Took her 25% of the marital assets and disappeared somewhere west. I didn't ask where, didn't care. Tyler Morrison was indicted by a federal grand jury on 14 counts. Mail fraud, wire fraud, identity theft, theft of government benefits, and drug distribution. His public defender advised him to take a plea deal. 20 years reduced to 12 with cooperation. Tyler refused, insisted on going to trial, thought he could charm a jury the way he'd charmed neighborhood wives. He was wrong. The trial took 8 days. I testified for 4 hours, walking the jury through the security footage, the timeline analysis, the documentation of fraud. Dave Henderson testified about the identity theft, the credit card fraud, the stolen property. 3 of Tyler's other affair partners testified about the money they'd given him, the lies he'd told them. Tyler's attorney tried to paint him as a victim of circumstance, a man trying to rebuild his life after prison, a man who'd made mistakes but didn't deserve decades in federal custody. The jury didn't buy it. They saw what I'd seen: a career criminal who'd targeted vulnerable families, exploited every advantage, and showed no remorse for any of it. Guilty on all 14 counts. At sentencing, the judge looked at Tyler with undisguised contempt. "Mr. Morrison, you are a predator. You identify weaknesses in people and exploit them ruthlessly. You've destroyed families, stolen identities, and violated the trust of everyone who tried to help you. The court finds no mitigating factors, no evidence of rehabilitation, no reason to show mercy." The sentence: 12 years federal prison, followed by 3 years supervised release. The identity theft charge added a mandatory consecutive 2 years under federal sentencing guidelines, 14 years total. Restitution of $380,000 to his various victims. Forfeiture of all assets, including the $47,000 in credit card fraud proceeds. Tyler showed no emotion, just stared straight ahead as they led him away in handcuffs. I felt nothing watching him go. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just the empty recognition that justice had been served and it didn't actually fix anything. My ex-wife was in the courtroom. She'd been subpoenaed as a witness but ended up not testifying. Her affair was relevant to the timeline but not to the criminal charges. She sat in the back row, crying silently as the sentence was read. I didn't acknowledge her. Just walked out of the courthouse and went back to my life. The life that was slowly rebuilding itself from the wreckage. My cybersecurity business had tripled in size. Turns out a consultant who can document an affair so comprehensively that it leads to federal convictions is in high demand. Law firms hired me for digital forensics in divorce cases. Corporations hired me for employee surveillance and fraud detection. I hired 2 associates and moved into a proper office. The neighborhood security system was completed. 16 houses now shared a coordinated surveillance network, all feeding into central storage with proper access controls and privacy protections. We'd become the model for suburban security in the Dallas area. Other neighborhoods wanted the same system. I started a side business designing and installing them. Dave Henderson and I had become unlikely friends, bonded by shared trauma and mutual respect. His divorce from Rebecca was brutal. She'd never forgiven him for the Tyler situation, but he'd come out of it financially stable and emotionally recovering. We met for drinks every Thursday night, talked about work, sports, life. Carefully avoided talking about the past unless one of us needed to. 6 months after the divorce, I started dating again. Carefully, slowly, with every protective wall built as high as possible. Her name was Elena. She was a cybersecurity researcher at a defense contractor, brilliant and careful and as emotionally guarded as I was. We met at an industry conference, started talking about encryption protocols, and somehow ended up having dinner. It took 3 months before I told her about the divorce, about the affair, the surveillance footage, the trial, about how my marriage had ended because I'd been too focused on work and my wife had been too focused on finding validation elsewhere. Elena listened without judgment. Then she said, "I'm glad you were too focused on work. Your work is important. Your expertise helps people. If your wife needed constant attention and validation, that's her problem, not yours. That's not entirely fair to her. Maybe not, but it's also not entirely your fault. People are responsible for their own choices. She chose to have an affair instead of talking to you about her needs. That's on her." It was the first time anyone had said that without following it up with, "But you should have been more attentive," or "Marriages take 2 people," or any of the other platitudes that subtly blamed me for not preventing my wife's betrayal. I kissed her. She kissed me back. 3 months after that, she moved into my house, the house I'd redesigned and renovated, removing every trace of my ex-wife, making it entirely my own. A year after the divorce, I got an email from my ex. Subject line: I'm sorry. I almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity won. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I have no right to contact you. But I wanted to tell you that I've been in therapy for the past year, working through what I did and why I did it, and I've come to understand some things. You were right about everything. Tyler was using me. I was using you. I was so focused on feeling special that I didn't see what I was destroying. I threw away a good marriage for a fantasy that was never real. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I understand now what I did to you. And I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. I've rebuilt my life. New career in property management. Nothing that requires a real estate license. It's humble work, but it's honest. I'm seeing someone who's kind and patient and helping me become a better person. I hope you found happiness. You deserve it more than anyone. I read it twice, felt the echo of old pain, old anger, old loss. Then I filed it in my digital archive, another piece of documentation from a life that no longer existed. Didn't respond, didn't need to. That chapter was closed. Archived. Finished. I had a new life now. A business that was thriving, a relationship that was healthy, a future that wasn't defined by betrayal and destruction. 2 years after the divorce, Elena and I got married. Small ceremony, close friends only. Dave was my best man. Made a toast about how sometimes life's worst moments lead to its best outcomes. How destruction can clear the way for something better. I thought about that standing at the altar, looking at Elena. Brilliant, honest, emotionally present. Elena who'd never once made me doubt her or question her integrity. Thought about my ex-wife, wherever she was, whatever life she'd built from the ruins. Thought about Tyler Morrison in federal prison, 7 years into his sentence, 7 years still to go. Thought about how a single afternoon of checking security footage had destroyed one life and built another. The minister pronounced us married. Elena kissed me. The small crowd applauded. I felt for the first time in 2 years something like peace. 3 years after the trial, Dave called me on a Thursday morning. You sitting down? Should I be? Tyler's dead. Prison fight last night. Stabbed by another inmate over some drug deal gone wrong. I absorbed this information clinically, waiting for some emotional response. It didn't come. How do you feel about it? I asked Dave. Honestly, nothing. He was a bad person who did terrible things to a lot of people. The world's probably better without him. He paused. Does that make me a monster? No, it makes you human. We're not obligated to mourn people who destroyed our lives. Rebecca called me. She's upset. Says she feels guilty for being glad he's gone. She shouldn't feel guilty. He earned his fate through his own choices. After we hung up, I told Elena. She nodded slowly. One less predator in the world. That's cold. So is systematic fraud and emotional manipulation. I'm not going to pretend to be sad about the death of someone who deliberately hurt people for profit and entertainment. That night, I got a text from my ex-wife. Did you hear about Tyler? I know I shouldn't care. I know he was using me. But I can't help feeling sad. Is that crazy? I stared at the message for a long moment. Then typed, It's not crazy. It's human. You can grieve for what you thought he was even if the reality was different. Thank you. That helps. Take care of yourself. I didn't expect to hear from her again. Didn't particularly want to. But the exchange felt necessary somehow, a final closing of a wound that had taken 3 years to fully heal. Elena found me on the back porch, looking out at the neighborhood. Our neighborhood now, safe and secure with its coordinated surveillance system and active community watch. You okay? She asked. Yeah, just thinking about how different things are now. 3 years ago I was in hell. Now I'm here. With you. With a life I actually want. You earned it. You could have become bitter and closed off. Instead, you turned pain into purpose, built something meaningful from destruction. I had help. You did. But you did the work. She kissed my cheek. Come inside. Dinner's ready. I followed her inside, to our home, our life, our future that had nothing to do with betrayal or revenge or justice. Just two people who'd found each other after surviving their own respective disasters, building something new together. Behind me, the sun set over Maple Grove Lane, casting long shadows across perfectly manicured lawns and houses equipped with cameras that captured everything, protected everyone, and ensured that what had happened to Dave and me would never happen to another family in our neighborhood. Some people use technology to deceive. Others use it to reveal truth. I'd chosen truth. And truth, however painful, had set me free. 5 years after the divorce, I stood in my office overlooking downtown Dallas. My company, Blackstone Digital Forensics, had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. 43 employees, contracts with federal law enforcement, a reputation as the go-to expert for digital evidence in complex cases. Elena was my partner in every sense. Married 3 years, business partner for 2. She ran the technical side while I handled client relations and testimony. We'd found a rhythm that worked professionally and personally, boundaries clear, respect mutual. The phone rang. My assistant. There's someone here to see you. Says it's personal. Name is Dave Henderson. Send him up. Dave entered, looking exhausted. Military bearing slightly slumped. Dark circles under his eyes. What's wrong? Rebecca's remarrying. Some investment banker she met through friends. They're engaged after 8 months. Okay, and? And she's moving to New York with him, taking the kids. I understood immediately. She can't do that without court approval. She already filed. Says the move is for her career, for better opportunities, that the kids will have better education. My lawyer says she's got a decent case. What do you need? I need proof she's doing this to punish me. To take the kids away because she's still angry about Tyler. I need the kind of evidence you're good at finding. I hesitated. Dave was my friend, but this was different than documenting an affair or fraud. This was a custody case, a father's access to his children. You want me to investigate your ex-wife? I want you to find the truth. If she's legitimately moving for her career, fine. I'll deal with it. But if she's using the kids as weapons, if this is revenge disguised as opportunity, then I want to fight it with every tool available. This isn't cybersecurity work. This is private investigation territory. Then recommend someone you trust, someone who will do it right. I thought about it, pulled up my contacts. I know someone, former detective specialized in custody disputes. She's expensive but thorough. I don't care about expensive, I care about my kids. I made the call, set up the meeting. 2 weeks later, the investigator, name was Sable Raven, ironically, had compiled a preliminary report. Rebecca's career opportunity was mostly fiction. The New York job was entry-level, less pay than her current position. The investment banker fiancé had family money, was funding the move entirely. The engagement had happened suspiciously fast, 8 days after Rebecca filed for permission to relocate with the kids. She's using the relationship as justification for the move, Sable explained. Classic strategic remarriage. New partner, new city, new life. And oh, by the way, the kids are coming too. Can we prove it's malicious? Dave asked. I can prove it's rushed and financially questionable. Whether that rises to malicious is for the court to decide. Sable pulled up emails she'd obtained through legal discovery. But look at this. Email from Rebecca to her sister. I'm getting the kids away from here, away from memories of Tyler and everything that happened. Fresh start for all of us. Dave read it. That's not malicious. That's just moving on. Keep reading. Next paragraph. Dave doesn't deserve to have them close. He brought that criminal into our lives. He can visit them in New York if he wants, but I'm done accommodating his schedule. There it was. The vindictiveness barely disguised as maternal protection. That's enough, Dave said quietly. That's enough to fight her. The custody hearing took 3 days. Rebecca's lawyer painted her as a devoted mother seeking better opportunities for her children. Dave's lawyer, the same one who'd handled his divorce, painted her as vindictive ex-wife using children as weapons. I didn't testify. This wasn't my fight. But I sat in the courtroom next to Elena, supporting Dave, watching the judge weigh conflicting narratives about parental rights and children's best interests. The judge ruled for Dave. Rebecca could move to New York if she wanted, but the children would stay in Texas. Primary custody remained with Dave. Rebecca got generous visitation, summers, holidays, school breaks, but the kids stayed in their home state with their father. Rebecca left the courtroom in tears. Dave left exhausted but victorious. "Thank you," he said outside, "for the referral, for being here, for everything. That's what friends do." "Is it, though? I keep thinking about what you did for me 5 years ago. Finding the evidence, documenting everything, helping me destroy Tyler. That went beyond friendship. That was warfare. Tyler earned what happened to him. So did Rebecca, according to my lawyer. But she's the mother of my children. There's a limit to how much I can destroy her without damaging them. That's the difference between Tyler and Rebecca. Tyler had no one who'd be collateral damage. Rebecca does. You're being smart by limiting the warfare." Dave nodded slowly. "I hope you never have to make these calculations with Elena." "So do I." But 6 months later, I did. Elena came home from work looking shaken. "We need to talk." Those 4 words that never preceded good news. "What's wrong?" "I've been offered a position, Deputy Director of Cybersecurity at NSA. It's based in Fort Meade, Maryland." My stomach dropped. "That's across the country." "I know." "When would it start?" 3 months, if I accept." We stared at each other across the kitchen island, the same island where I'd confronted my ex-wife 5 years earlier about her affair. Different woman, different issue, same sense of life shifting under my feet. "Do you want to accept?" "It's my dream job. Everything I've worked toward my entire career. The kind of position that opens doors to anything I want after government service." But you're here. Your business is here. Your life is here. I can't ask you to give that up." "You're not asking. I'm deciding." I thought about it logically, like a business problem. My company is national now. I can run it from anywhere. Most of my testimony is remote anyway. The office in Dallas can function without me physically present. You'd move? For me? I moved on from my previous life. I can move to Maryland for this one. I pulled her close. Your career matters as much as mine. We make this work together. She cried. Happy tears this time, not traumatic ones. I love you. I love you too. When do we start packing? The move took 4 months. Selling the Dallas house, the house that had witnessed so much pain and reconstruction. Setting up the Maryland office. Transitioning my associates to running the Dallas operations while I focused on federal contracts from Fort Meade. Dave threw us a going-away party. The entire Maple Grove neighborhood turned out. The neighborhood I'd helped secure, helped protect, helped transform from site of betrayal into model community. You built something here, Dave said during his toast. Something that lasted beyond your personal tragedy. These families sleep better because of the security you designed. These marriages are stronger because of the warning your experience provided. You took your worst moment and made it matter. I looked around at the faces, neighbors who'd become friends, families I'd helped protect, people who'd learned from my disaster and strengthened their own relationships. Thank you, I said simply, for being part of the rebuilding. Elena and I drove away from Maple Grove Lane one last time. In the rearview mirror, I watched the street disappear, the street where my old life had died and my new one had begun. Maryland was different, colder, both in weather and in culture. But the work was extraordinary. Elena thrived at NSA. I built federal contracts with agencies that had budgets and problems beyond anything I'd encountered in private sector. We bought a house in Annapolis, smaller than the Dallas property, but on the water, with views that made up for the reduced square footage. I installed a security system that would have made my former neighborhood jealous. Are we overreacting? Elena asked, watching me configure the 14th camera. This is a safe neighborhood. So was Maple Grove, until it wasn't. She didn't argue. She understood. Some scars don't heal. They just get incorporated into how you move through the world. 2 years into the Maryland life, I got a call from an unknown Texas number. Answered it warily. Hello? Is this Michael Blackstone? Female voice. Young. Uncertain. Who's asking? My name is Luna Castellanos. I was involved with Tyler Morrison. Before he went to prison. Before everything. My hand tightened on the phone. What do you want? I'm writing a book. About Tyler. About what he did. About the pattern of manipulation. I wanted to interview you. You're the one who brought him down. I documented evidence. The legal system brought him down. But you started it. You found the footage. You connected the dots. You made sure he faced consequences. Without you, he'd probably still be out there, destroying families. Tyler destroyed himself through his choices. I just made sure those choices were visible. Can I interview you? Please? I want to tell the whole story. Not just about Tyler, but about the families he hurt, the systems he exploited, the warning signs people missed. I thought about it. Why? Because I was 19 when I met him. He was 26, charming, attentive, everything I thought I wanted. He manipulated me for 8 months, took money from my parents, convinced me to steal from my college fund. By the time I figured out what he was, I'd lost everything. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm looking for justice. He's dead now, so legal justice isn't possible. But I can make sure his story serves as a warning. That's worth something, isn't it? It might be. So will you talk to me? I looked at Elena, who'd been listening to my side of the conversation. She nodded slightly. 1 interview, 2 hours maximum. You use what I tell you responsibly, accurately, without dramatization. I promise. Thank you. This means everything. We met 3 weeks later in a coffee shop in Baltimore. Luna was younger than I expected, 24, but with the wary exhaustion of someone who'd lived through trauma and come out harder. She recorded our conversation with an old-fashioned tape recorder, taking notes by hand. Tell me about the day you found the footage. I walked her through it. The break-in alert, the security review, the shocking appearance of my wife's car, the methodical documentation, the timeline analysis, the moment of confrontation. What did you feel when you first saw her car in the footage? Nothing. Then everything. Then nothing again. Can you explain that? First, there's shock, disbelief. Your brain can't process what you're seeing. Then there's this wave of every emotion at once: anger, betrayal, grief, rage. It's overwhelming. And then your mind just shuts down the emotional response because you can't function in that state. You become analytical, clinical. That's where I lived for months. When did the emotions come back? They didn't, really. Not the way they should have. I processed the betrayal intellectually, understood it factually. But the emotional devastation? I think I'm still waiting for that to fully hit. She made notes. Did you love your wife? Yes. Very much. Until the moment I saw that footage. Then it was like someone flipped a switch. The love just stopped. Replaced by the need to document, to prove, to protect myself. That's not normal, is it? To stop loving someone that quickly? I don't know what's normal in that situation. I know that when someone betrays you systematically for months while looking you in the eye and lying, something breaks in your brain. The person you loved doesn't exist anymore. They never existed. You were in love with a fiction. Did you ever consider reconciliation? No, not once. Not even for a moment. Why not? Because reconciliation requires trust. Trust requires honesty. She proved herself incapable of honesty. Simple equation. Luna studied me. You're very analytical about something that destroyed your marriage. It's how I survive. Emotions are data. Process the data, draw conclusions, take action. If I let myself drown in feelings, I'd never have made it through. Do you think that's healthy? I think it's functional. Whether it's healthy is a question for my therapist. You're in therapy? Everyone who goes through something like this should be in therapy. It's not weakness, it's maintenance. She nodded, making more notes. Tell me about the moment you decided to pursue Tyler criminally. I didn't decide. I found evidence of crimes and reported them. That's not pursuit. That's citizenship. But you could have just reported the affair, divorced your wife, and moved on. Instead, you documented everything meticulously, built a federal case, testified for hours. That's more than citizenship. Tyler Morrison was a predator. He'd done this before, he was doing it in my neighborhood, and he'd keep doing it until someone stopped him. I had the skills and evidence to stop him. So I did. Was it revenge? It was justice. What's the difference? Revenge is emotional, disproportionate, personal. Justice is systematic, proportionate, communal. Revenge would have been destroying Tyler beyond what his crimes warranted. Justice was ensuring he faced appropriate consequences for what he actually did. But you enjoyed it, didn't you? Watching him go down? I thought about that carefully. I felt satisfaction that a dangerous person was being removed from society. I felt vindication that my evidence had been compelling. I felt relief that other families would be protected. Did I enjoy it? That's the wrong question. What's the right question? The right question is, would I do it again? And the answer is yes. Every single time. Not because I enjoyed it, but because it was necessary. Luna set down her pen. Can I ask you something off the record? You can ask. I might not answer. Do you still have feelings for your ex-wife? Love? Hate? Anything? Nothing. She's a stranger who shares some of my past. Like a former classmate I barely remember. That seems impossibly cold. It's protective. Feeling things for her would mean she still has power over me. I can't afford that. What about your new wife? Do you have trouble trusting her? Elena's different. Her entire career is built on security, on protecting classified information, on following protocols. She's incapable of the kind of sustained deception my ex-wife practiced. And if she ever did betray me, I'd know immediately. Our entire life is documented, secured, monitored. That sounds exhausting. It's comforting. We both understand the value of verification, of evidence, of trust but verify. We're both survivors of betrayal. Her ex-boyfriend cheated on her with her best friend. We speak the same language of protective skepticism. Luna finished her notes. Last question. If you could go back to the day before you found the footage, knowing what you know now, would you change anything? I thought about it. About the 9 years of marriage, the slow drift, the work obsession, the emotional distance that had created space for my wife to rationalize her affair. I'd work less, be more present, create fewer vulnerabilities in the marriage. But fundamentally, no. Because the kind of person who responds to marital problems by having an affair isn't someone I can fix by being more attentive. She'd have found some other reason, some other justification. The betrayal was always coming. I just didn't know it yet. That's bleak. That's realistic. 3 months later, Luna sent me an advance copy of her book. The Surveillance Trap: How One Man's Digital Skills Exposed a Suburban Predator. I read it in one sitting. She'd told the story fairly. Tyler's pattern of manipulation, the multiple families destroyed, the legal proceedings that followed. My role was prominent but not heroic. Just methodical, thorough, determined. Elena read it over my shoulder. She made you sound like a robot. I was a robot, for months. It was the only way to function. Are you still? I turned to her. What do you think? I think you're better. Still careful, still analytical, but there's warmth there now. You smile more, you relax sometimes. You're not constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's because I trust you. I don't trust easily, but I trust you. I know. And I don't take it lightly. She kissed me. Want to go sailing tomorrow? Forget about Tyler and books and old trauma for a few hours? Yeah, I'd like that. We spent the next day on the Chesapeake, wind in our faces, sun on the water, nothing but the present moment. No cameras, no documentation, no analysis. Just two people who'd survived their respective disasters and found each other on the other side. That night, I dreamed about the old house on Maple Grove Lane. In the dream, I was installing security cameras covering every angle, making sure nothing could happen without being documented. But no matter how many cameras I installed, there were always blind spots. Always shadows where betrayal could hide. I woke up sweating. Elena was already awake beside me. Bad dream? Old trauma, it cycles through sometimes. Want to talk about it? Not really. Want to just exist for a while? Yeah, I can do that. We lay in the dark, existing two damaged people who'd found ways to function despite the scars. 7 years after the divorce, Dave called with news. Rebecca's getting divorced again. The investment banker turned out to be a gambling addict. Cleaned out their accounts. She's moving back to Texas. How are the kids? Good. Great, actually. They've been with me primarily for 3 years now. They're stable, doing well in school, emotionally healthy. Rebecca's been a good visiting parent. That's something. I've been thinking about apologizing to her. For Tyler, for not vetting him properly, for setting the whole disaster in motion. Don't. Why not? Because Tyler isn't your fault. He fooled everyone. He had a criminal history of doing exactly what he did to you. Apologizing suggests you did something wrong. You didn't. You were a victim of his manipulation just like everyone else. But I brought him into the house? Rebecca agreed. She pushed for it, actually. If anyone should apologize, it should be mutual. But honestly, Tyler's responsible for Tyler's actions. Not you. Not Rebecca. Not anyone else he manipulated. You really believe that? I know that. I've spent 7 years analyzing what happened, why it happened, who bears what responsibility. Tyler bears all of it. Everyone else just dealt with the fallout. Including your ex-wife? Including her. She made terrible choices, choices that destroyed our marriage. But Tyler manipulated her into making those choices easier, more tempting, more justifiable. She's still responsible for the affair, but Tyler's responsible for the predatory pattern that made the affair possible. That's generous. It's accurate. I don't forgive her. I don't excuse her. But I understand her role in the ecosystem versus Tyler's role. One was weakness. The other was predation. They're different. After we hung up, Elena asked what Dave had wanted. I explained Rebecca's return, his instinct to apologize. Are you going to contact your ex, now that it's been 7 years? No, why would I? Closure, forgiveness, moving on? I moved on 7 years ago. I closed that chapter the day the divorce was final. Forgiveness would require her asking for it, and I don't think either of us wants that conversation. What if she reaches out? Then I'll decide in that moment. But I'm not initiating contact. Even after all this time? Even with all the distance and healing? Especially with all the distance and healing. I worked hard to build a life where she doesn't exist. Why would I invite her back into it? Elena nodded. I get it. Some doors stay closed. Some doors get welded shut. 9 years after the divorce, 10 years after discovering the affair, I got an invitation in the mail. Physical mail, handwritten envelope, expensive cardstock. My ex-wife was getting remarried. I stared at the invitation, trying to parse why she'd sent it. We hadn't spoken in years. Hadn't had any contact beyond the occasional legal document regarding final financial settlements. Elena read it over my shoulder. Are you going? Are you serious? I mean, she invited you. Maybe it's an olive branch? A way of saying she's moved on and wants you to know she's happy? Or it's a guilt-relieving gesture. She wants me to show up, smile, congratulate her, absolve her of what she did. Make her feel like everything's fine now, everyone's happy, no harm done. You think she's that calculated? I think people want to believe their past mistakes don't define them. Easiest way to believe that is to get the person they hurt to show up and act like everything's fine. So you're not going. I'm not going. I threw the invitation away. Didn't RSVP. Didn't acknowledge it in any way. 3 weeks later, my ex-wife called. I almost didn't answer. Her number was still in my phone as do not answer, but curiosity won. Hello? Hi, I wasn't sure you'd pick up. I almost didn't. I wanted to talk about the wedding invitation. I never heard back from you. That's because I'm not coming. Silence on the line. Can I ask why? Because I have no interest in celebrating your marriage. We're not friends. We're not family. We're two people who used to be married until you destroyed that marriage. Your future happiness is not my concern. That's harsh. It's honest. I invited you because I wanted you to see that I've grown, that I'm different now, that I learned from my mistakes and built something better. Good for you. That doesn't require my attendance or validation. I thought maybe enough time had passed that we could what? Be friends? Pretend the past didn't happen? Smile at each other at your wedding like we're old college buddies who drifted apart? I thought maybe you'd forgiven me. I haven't forgiven you. I've forgotten you. There's a difference. Forgiveness would mean I still care enough to absolve you. I don't. You're just someone from my past who taught me valuable lessons about trust and evidence and verification. You're still angry. I'm not angry, I'm indifferent. Anger would mean you still matter. You don't. Then why won't you come to the wedding? If I don't matter, what's the harm? Because spending time and energy on your wedding would mean you do matter. And I'm not giving you that. She was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry I hurt you. I know I said it before, but I mean it. I'm genuinely sorry for what I did. Okay? That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? I accept your apology? I forgive you? I understand? None of that's true. You're sorry. I heard you. That's all there is. Do you ever think about what we had? The good years before everything fell apart? No. Not ever? Not ever. Those memories are contaminated by what came after. The good years were built on a foundation that turned out to be unstable. Looking back at them would be like admiring a building's architecture while ignoring that it's built on a sinkhole. That's sad. That's protective. I built a new life on stable ground. I don't need to reminisce about the unstable past. Are you happy? Really happy? Yes? I'm glad. You deserve happiness, she paused. I hope someday you can see that I do too. I already see that. I just don't care about it. Your happiness or unhappiness is irrelevant to me. You're free to build whatever life you want. Just build it without expecting me to be part of it in any way. Understood. I won't contact you again. Good. After we hung up, Elena asked how it went. About as well as could be expected. She wanted absolution. I gave her indifference. You don't think there's any value in forgiveness? Not for me. Forgiveness would mean I'm still emotionally connected to what happened, still working through it, still processing. I'm done processing. The equation is solved. She's irrelevant to the solution. But doesn't holding on to that hurt you more than her? I'm not holding on to anything. I'm simply declining to participate in her narrative of redemption. She wants me to show up, smile, prove that she's moved past her mistakes. I'm not required to provide that evidence. Elena thought about it. I guess that's fair. Your healing doesn't require you to participate in hers. Exactly. 10 years and 1 month after discovering the affair, I testified before Congress. The Senate Intelligence Committee wanted to understand best practices for digital evidence in national security investigations. My work with federal agencies had made me an expert in the intersection of surveillance, privacy, and criminal prosecution. During my testimony, a senator asked, Mr. Blackstone, your expertise in this area came from personal experience, correct? A domestic surveillance case that led to criminal convictions? That's correct, Senator. Can you speak to the ethical considerations of using private surveillance for personal purposes? I can speak to what I did and why. I accessed security camera footage that I had legitimate administrator access to, discovered criminal activity, and reported it to law enforcement. The surveillance wasn't for personal purposes. It was standard home security that happened to capture evidence of crimes. But you used that evidence in your divorce proceedings. I used it to protect my financial interests and document fraud. That's appropriate use of evidence. The criminal prosecution was handled entirely by law enforcement based on their own investigation. Do you worry about normalizing surveillance culture, creating a society where everyone's always being watched? I worry more about creating a society where criminals feel safe because no one's watching. Security cameras don't prevent good people from living freely. They prevent bad people from harming freely. There's a distinction. But where's the line? How much surveillance is too much? The line is consent and purpose. People consent to security cameras on their own property. Those cameras serve the purpose of protecting property and occupants. That's reasonable surveillance. Secret surveillance of people without their knowledge or consent for purposes beyond security? That crosses the line. Did your wife consent to being surveilled? My wife knew we had a security system. My neighbor knew he had a security system. They both chose to engage in criminal activity despite that knowledge. That's not a surveillance problem. That's a judgment problem. The hearing continued for 3 hours. By the end, I'd explained the technical, legal, and ethical framework for using digital evidence in ways that protected both individual rights and public safety. Afterward, Elena met me outside the Capitol building. You were brilliant in there. I was factual. Brilliant would have been making them laugh. You made them think. That's better. We walked down the Capitol steps into the Washington evening. Tourists everywhere, taking photos, admiring the building, celebrating democracy. You know what's strange? I said. 10 years ago, I was a cybersecurity consultant working from a home office. Now I'm testifying before Congress. Tyler Morrison changed my life in ways he never intended. He gave you expertise in an area that desperately needed it. He gave me motivation to understand surveillance systems, legal frameworks, evidence documentation. None of that would have been necessary if I'd just stayed in corporate security consulting. Do you regret it? The path your life took? I regret the pain. I regret the betrayal. I regret losing 9 years to a marriage that turned out to be built on unstable ground. But do I regret where I ended up? No. I built something meaningful from destruction. That's worth something. It's worth everything. We drove back to Annapolis in comfortable silence. The house was dark when we arrived. We'd been gone all day for the hearing. I unlocked the door, checked the security system out of habit. All clear. All safe. Elena made dinner while I reviewed emails. Routine, domestic, peaceful. The opposite of the chaos that had defined my life a decade earlier. I got an email from Luna, Elena called from the kitchen. Her book is being adapted into a documentary. They want to interview you. No. No? Just like that? Just like that. I testified before Congress today about surveillance ethics. That's my contribution to public understanding of these issues. I don't need to rehash my personal trauma for entertainment. It's educational, not entertainment. It's both. And I'm done being the cautionary tale. Other people can learn from general principles without needing to mine my specific disaster for content. She brought plates to the table. Fair enough. I'll tell Luna no. We ate, watching the sun set over the Chesapeake. Sailboats in the distance, the house secure, the life stable. You know what I realized today? I said. During the testimony? What? I spent 3 hours talking about surveillance, evidence, criminal prosecution, all of it stemming from the worst day of my life. And I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, no residual trauma. Just clinical expertise about methodology and ethics. Is that good or bad? I think it's healed. Finally. A decade later, I can discuss what happened without feeling anything about it. It's just data now, just facts, just history. That's good. That's really good. It is, isn't it? She reached across the table, took my hand. You survived something that destroys people. You not only survived, you thrived. You built a career, a marriage, a life that matters. Tyler Morrison tried to destroy you. Instead, you became the expert who helps prevent other Tylers from destroying other families. Poetic justice? Just justice. That night, I slept without nightmares for the first time in years. No dreams of security cameras, no visions of betrayal, no replays of footage showing my wife's car in someone else's driveway. Just sleep. Deep, dreamless, peaceful sleep. Healing, I realized, wasn't a destination. It was a process. And somewhere in the past 10 years, without noticing exactly when, I'd completed it. The wounds had become scars. The scars had faded. The trauma had transformed into expertise. I'd survived. More than that, I'd prevailed. And Tyler Morrison, dead in a prison fight 7 years earlier, had given me the tools to help countless others survive their own betrayals. their own disasters, their own transformations. Some people use technology to deceive. Others use it to reveal truth. I'd chosen truth. And truth, however painful in the moment, had ultimately set me free. Not free from the past. That was impossible. But free from being defined by it, controlled by it, destroyed by it. The surveillance trap had caught my wife and Tyler in their crimes, but it had freed me to build something better, something stronger, something real. And that, I realized, was the best revenge of all. Not their destruction, but my reconstruction. Not their suffering, but my thriving. Not their imprisonment, but my freedom. The cameras had captured everything. The evidence had destroyed them. And I had moved forward into a life they could never touch, never taint, never reach. Justice, it turned out, wasn't about making them pay. It was about making sure I didn't have to keep paying for their choices. And finally, a decade later, the debt was paid. The account was closed. The chapter was finished. I was free.